We are so blessed. Okay, I'm over it. So as you can tell, I like to come up with these pithy talk titles, I like to come up with something that doesn't give away what the talk is exactly going to be about. I've done it with talk titles such as WTF. That one was fun, right? And Say Ah, that one was fun too. And the reason why I do it is because we do quite a bit of advertising beforehand. We've advertised on Facebook and a newsletter, and I guess that's it, Facebook and newsletter, and it seems to me that's something, my Facebook anyway. And what I do is that I want to get it enticing enough so that people will actually come on Sundays and see what the spiritual lesson behind the cutesy little title is. So of course that's what I tried to do with this title, Are You Into It? Now, I didn't give away what the it was, but I rather boldly said you have to come on Sunday to find out what the it was. And to make it even more enticing, I dropped the hint that even if you didn't know what the it was, you are into it. Everybody is into it. You can't help but be into it. It is who and what you are. So was that a big enough build-up? Are you ready for the big reveal now? Okay. Into it. Into it. Intuition. Okay, that was quite the build-up I thought. Okay. Intuition. Intuition is probably the most underused and misunderstood and yet profoundly powerful senses that we have available to us. We have, each of us, a still small voice inside of us that gently guides us into making good decisions when we listen to it. In fact, our founder, Ernest Holmes, defines intuition as God in man. Now, you notice he didn't say God in woman, even though we hear about female intuition all the time. But guys, I'm telling you, you have it too. You just call it something different. You call it things like a hunch or a gut feeling. But the truth is, we all have within us an intelligence, our higher self that sees the bigger picture. There is an infinite wisdom that is within every one of us that knows more than we, with our finite knowledge, can possibly know. Is this making sense? So let me tell you, I'm a wordsmith, you know that. And so I looked up the word. So the Latin for intuition is intuere, which means to consider, to look on. And Webster defines it as the immediate knowing or learning of something without the conscious use of reasoning. Now, pay attention to these next few words and tell me if you've ever used any of them. Insight, wisdom, inner knowing, aha, in the zone, sixth sense, enlightenment, precognition, muse, illumination, inner guidance, inner voice, still small voice, gut feeling, inspiration, my heart tells me, flash of creativity, brilliance, genius, insight, inkling, instinct, hunch, feel it in my bones, just know, a little birdie told me, I just get the impression and got a feeling. If you have based any decision ever in your life using one of those words or one of those feelings, you have used your intuition. But here's the thing about intuition. It can only talk to us in a very quiet and soft tone. And the reason for that is that we have free will. We always have to have free will, so it cannot hit us across the head by a 2x4. although sometimes it feels like it does. But that isn't really how the universe works. We have to have free will. We must always have a choice in the decisions that we make. So we all receive guidance on a regular basis. But we have to be able to choose whether we listen to it or not. And when we do listen to it, when we pay attention, the results can be so rewarding. Can I get an amen to this? Amen. Yeah. Jonas Salk said this: "It is always with excitement that I wake up in the morning wondering what my intuition will toss up to me like gifts from the sea. I work with it and rely on it. It is my partner." Isn't that profound? I work with it and I rely on it. It is my partner. So let me give you a very recent example. Every week, I prepare my talk. I spend most of Friday getting my talk together. And after my talk is pretty much written, then I work on my PowerPoint. I spend a lot of time doing the PowerPoints. You all may not know that, but I spend a lot of time finding just the right pictures, just the right things to accompany the quotes that I use and the stories that I tell. I consider it a part of my creative process. I really enjoy that part. So it happened, I get the talk all ready and I get the PowerPoint all ready, and on Sunday morning, after I am sure that the PowerPoint is just the way I want it, I save it to a flash drive and I bring it to darling Dwayne, who then loads it up onto the center's computer. I have been doing this routine for many, many years and had very few mishaps through all the years I've been doing this. So last week, if you were here last week, you know that I had a video that was an integral part of my talk about being in service. I mean, it was like the climax. It was like the point, right? And so I needed to make sure 100% that the video was going to work correctly. So I tested it and I retested it. And then I saved it onto my regular flash drive. But then I got a funny feeling. You know that funny feeling? That something wasn't right. So I quickly resaved the entire PowerPoint, including the movie, onto a new flash drive that I had just purchased the day before that. So I had both of them, right? Sure enough, I get here to the center and I had Dwayne, my original, the one we've been using for a year and a half now, and I give it to Dwayne, and he sits in the computer, and it didn't work. In fact, they had this big warning sign that says, "This drive is compromised." Fortunately, I had listened to that still, small voice in the guise of a funny feeling something's not quite right, and I'd saved the PowerPoint to the new drive as well. And the movie worked, and it was every bit as impactful as I had hoped that it would be. Now, would it have been the end of the world if I hadn't listened and had only brought the compromised flash drive? No, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but it would have been a very stressful 45-minute drive back to my house, load it back up again on a different drive and bring it back. And stress is not a good thing for a minister on Sunday mornings. Everybody's supposed to be really nice to me on Sunday mornings so that I can come up here and just be all zen. So I am glad, so glad, that I listened and I acted on that funny feeling, that gut reaction. The challenge is, we don't always listen to the voice, do we? Because it's usually very, very subtle. And so sometimes we hear it, sometimes we sense it, and sometimes we don't. And often we ignore it. Or am I the only one? No? Okay. And when we do ignore it, sometimes we're really sorry when we do. Because I've learned through through the years, I've had just as many examples of when I've got an intuitive hit or a feeling and I've ignored it. You know why I usually ignore it? Because it's inconvenient. Because saving something onto a second flash drive is going to take me a precious 2 or 3 minutes on a Sunday morning that I don't feel like I can spare, right? So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Not this time. But you understand what I'm talking about. And very often things have happened when I haven't listened to it, and then something unpleasant has happened that could have been avoided if I had listened. So fortunately, what has happened is that I've gotten to the point where I listen more often than not. Because I learned to trust it. Because I know that it's there for me. It is my partner. It is the God within. It is God in Pat. Here's what Ernest Holmes said about it. The person who goes deeply into his or her nature finds that God speaks in a language more subtle than human language, that universal language of spiritual emotion which is instinctive in humanity, the universal language of emotion, sense, feeling, intuition, and instinct. It makes no difference what we call it. It is a direct revelation of omniscience through us. Everybody go like this. So intuition is natural to us. We all have it. We all have it. And there are ways of honing it. There are ways of developing it so that we can consciously, on purpose, intentionally rely on it. I'm going to give you some tools here. First one is pay attention to how your intuition actually does speak to you. Because each one of us has a different way that our intuition speaks to us, or maybe several different ways. Like I said, it's feelings, it's images, it's body sensations, sometimes it's just a knowing. So when you're making a decision, pay attention to all the ways that your intuition actually does communicate with you. The second one is ask your intuition questions. This is really key because a lot of people think that intuition just comes unbidden, but that's not always true. It's okay to ask, what do I do in this situation? What do I need to know about this? And then pay attention, remembering that those answers might come in different ways. Always paying attention. Another one is pay attention to what you are enthusiastic about. Think about that. The root word of enthusiasm is entheos. It means God within. So when you're feeling that sense of enthusiasm, that sense of, that's one of the ways that your intuition is getting your attention. So whatever that thing is, that makes you happy or delighted or excited, what do you look forward to every day? Do that. And it will help hone your intuition. Woohoo! Really? Come on. And you knew this next one was going to go. Spend time in prayer and meditation. Intuitive answers often come to us when we are involved in self-reflection. In prayer and meditation are a couple of those ways that we have of slowing down enough to listen to that still, small voice of our higher self. But don't, I was going to say don't expect, that's not what I mean. Remember that the answers may not be instantaneous, fully formed at the moment that you are praying or meditating. You might find them evolving in your consciousness over the several days and weeks. Learn to pay attention to that. When all of a sudden, you know, and you know that you know. Here's one that surprised me. Create positive self-talk. Pay attention to what it is that you tell yourself about you and your life. If the general tone is hopeful and positive, then what happens is you're more open. And when you're more open, you're able to recognize guidance more easily because you're expecting it to be there. You're hopeful, you're positive. Does that make sense? So be positive. Oh, this next one, this one's hard for me. Learn to take small steps. Remember that movie, Baby Steps? What about Bob? And the psychologist told Bill Murray to just take baby steps into things. Well, you know what? Sometimes we have to do that. We're so anxious for these big changes in our lives. We're afraid that we're going to make a mistake. And so we're just, so antsy. But we take baby steps toward a decision. And it can work wonderfully. You may find that as you take those baby steps, your decisions become clearer. Your resolve becomes stronger, and fear begins to lessen because you're not going full bore into something that requires you to develop a consciousness in order to attract it into you. So take baby steps steadily toward the thing. Let your intuition guide you step by step. And finally, this is the funnest one. Look for coincidences and synchronicities. It's been said that coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. We often have serendipity that's taking place in our lives all the time. It is one of the ways that our intuition is working to show us that we are on the right path. So as we learn to trust our intuitive knowing, we're going to find that synchronicity occurs a lot more often because, again, we're expecting it. We're seeing it. We're recognizing it. And it can be really cool. Guys, remember Alan Alda from the TV show MASH? He said this: you have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. What you'll discover will be wonderful. What you'll discover is yourself. So we're going to practice for just a few moments. Ames, can you come up and just do a little noodling in the background? I like this picture. Isn't that a cool picture? I was so happy when I found it. I'm going to leave it up because I like it. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable to you. And just feel yourself feeling safe. For the next few moments, there's no place you need to be, nothing you need to be doing. Just allow yourself to become open. And now think about something you want an answer to. Something that you've been wondering about. Recognize that the wisdom of God is your wisdom, and that you receive direction and guidance in this question, in this situation. And so simply ask for guidance. What do I need to know here? What is the right choice for me? Which direction should I go? Be aware of images and words, feelings and thoughts that come to you. Remember that intuition is generally not loud, it's soft. It's giving you a choice. So just sit for a few moments in the question. Now thank your intuition for its guidance. And if you didn't receive an answer right away, be patient. The answers may come to you in the next minutes or hours or days. Pay attention to coincidences and serendipity. Because this is how your higher self is speaking to you in ways that you can understand when you listen. And so slowly bring your attention back to the room. When you feel comfortable, open your eyes. Say to yourself, I can see clearly now. More in tune and more connected. I told you you were into it. And so it is.